Welcome to Teaching the Gifted and Talented. Now, to avoid any misconceptions about gifted students, erase any assumptions you have surrounding them before we commence. This session, I will be addressing the question, who are the gifted and talented? I will be outlining teacher responsibilities to gifted students, what will be expected of you in your classroom, identification, what to look for, and how to assess high potential will be discussed. Some key characteristics of gifted students and relevant models to aid teachers in identification will be summarised. Finally, we will be looking at underachievement. What is it and how can we avoid it or remedy it? So, first of all, who are the gifted and talented? There are many different definitions of gifts and talents that have been coined over the years. Currently, there is no one definition that has been accepted by a majority of researchers in the field. So I will use the definition provided by the New South Wales Department of Education, which has been adapted from Gagne's differentiation model of gifts and talents. They define gifts as potential that is distinctly above average in one or more of the following domains of human ability: intellectual, creative, social, and physical, and that is in comparison to same age peers. They define talents as skills that are distinctly above average in one or more areas of human performance, and again, that is in comparison to the same aged peers. Current numbers from Gagne 2009 estimate that approximately the top 10% of the population is gifted, and approximately 1% or less of the population is highly gifted. Gifted students generally are able to assimilate information faster than their peers and retain it for longer periods. They also need a deeper and more challenging insight into the content being covered in the curriculum. Gifted students come from a multitude of places. They can be from any gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic group, be from rural or urban areas, and can even have disabilities. But more on that later. This is Gagne's differentiation model for gifts and talents. It is a process through which high natural potential or gifts can be developed into high performance or talents with the right support and in response to a number of environmental and intrapersonal catalysts. As educators, we want to identify high potential in students and work with them to develop their high potential into talents for high achievement. We can control some of the environmental catalysts by doing things such as providing challenging but appropriate content curriculum. And we can provide support to our students to combat effects of intrapersonal catalysts, such as giving them emotional support and providing them with effective strategies to use when faced with problems. So, what are your responsibilities as a teacher? All children have the right to reach their potential and be cognitively stimulated at school. The New South Wales Government is implementing a policy from Term 1 of 2021 to implement effective teaching and learning for high potential and gifted students. At the moment, you have the responsibility to identify gifted and talented students in your classroom. You have the responsibility to meet their special needs. You need to be able to differentiate your curriculum, the learning content, and your teaching styles to suit these gifted learners. You have to be able to recognise underachievement and to collaborate with parents, teachers, and the wider school community about what's best for these gifted learners in your school. The first step to meeting your gifted learners' needs in the classroom is identification of these learners. This is a three-step process involving nomination, screening, and monitoring. The first stage is nomination. In collaboration with parents of the child, or perhaps a coach or other party, the child with possible high potential is put up for nomination. Checklists could be filled out or interviews taken. to accurately examine what out of the norm behaviours these children are exhibiting. Now, it's extremely important to listen to the parents through this nomination process, as they have a great insight into the abilities that their children have. The next stage is screening. This is where the child is tested to confirm high potential in one or more areas. Screening methods include things such as interquotient tests, or more commonly known as IQ tests, standardized testing, portfolios of work, and off-level testing. Now, it is crucial to ensure the tests are appropriate for the child's suspected ability and are culturally fair. It is also important to use a multitude of test examples to accurately determine giftedness. The final stage is monitoring. This includes the regulation of goals and support the gifted student needs to develop their gift. Monitoring is vital to ensure learning goals are relevant and challenging, yet achievable for the student to further develop their gifts into talent. Like any other children in your class, gifted students have different interests and characteristics. As I mentioned before, gifted students tend to pick up and retain knowledge quicker than usual and require a deeper and more challenging level of exploration into topics. Not all gifted students will have the same characteristics. However, over time, research has uncovered a number of characteristics that your gifted students may possess. According to Silverman, 1993, these characteristics are things like divergent thinking, the ability to reason abstractly, a passion for learning, maybe in one area or a few areas of interest. They may also display creativity, empathy beyond their years, and an advanced sense of humour. Gifted students may also display negative characteristics such as disruptiveness, boredom, disorganisation, and a tendency to question authority. Betts and Neihardt, 1988, have developed 6 profiles of the gifted and talented which may be present in your classroom. Keep in mind that children often change and may exhibit certain characteristics one day and different ones the next. They will also change in response to different environmental catalysts in their life. Betts and Neihardt's 6 profiles of giftedness are the successful, the challenging, the underground, the dropouts, the double-labelled, and the autonomous learner. One of Betts and Neihardt's profiles, the double-labelled, is interesting. We'll explore it further. It can also be known as dual exceptionality. So, what exactly is it? As I mentioned previously, students who have disabilities can also be gifted. Vial and Rogers 2015 outlines 3 disabilities that can mask giftedness, which are attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, Asperger's syndrome, and other learning difficulties. These 3 disabilities have very similar characteristics and behaviours as giftedness. As a result, children can be misdiagnosed and their giftedness can be completely looked past. Tables can be found by Webb et al. 2005 that compare these characteristics to provide further insight into similarities and differences. Providing the correct support for these students' gifts as well as their disabilities is vital to their success. So, what is underachievement in regards to gifted education? It must sound like an oxymoron to some, asking, how can students with high potential underachieve? Well, the sad reality is that many gifted students are not performing to their full potential, with CELIA 2013 reporting that the number could be as high as 50%. Underachievement is universally recognised and defined as the discrepancy between a student's natural potential and their actual performance. The reasons for underachievement in gifted education can be contributed to the catalysts outlined in Gagne's differentiation model for gifts and talents. Environmental catalysts such as lack of challenge, which leads to boredom and disengagement, and the perception that their needs aren't being met, as well as interpersonal catalysts such as motivation, self efficacy, and perfectionism. Studies by Oreshkina and Greenberg 2010 and Martin 2015 provide us with strategies we can use to help students overcome these difficulties so they are able to reach their full potential. Oreshkina and Greenberg place a strong importance on creating authentic relationships with their students. We can use this strategy in our classroom to communicate with students about their needs and encourage them to take the occasional risk. A strong belief that your students can achieve great things and having high expectations for them have also been found to increase motivation in underachieving students. Another strategy put forward by Martin 2015 is to create a low fear classroom by supporting the view that mistakes are just information to collect on how to improve or succeed next time. Martin 2015 also reports that a key strategy when it comes to underachieving gifted students, whom are quite often underachieving due to underlying fears of failure, is to focus on skill development. He argues that a focus on developing skills allows students to be more engaged with the process of completing a task, not just the final result. Another positive to this strategy is that students are learning and developing essential skills that will not only help them achieve to live up to their potential, but it also develops their skills so they may eventually become an autonomous learner. I'd like to finish off with a quote by Chuck Grassley, which states, "What makes a child gifted and talented may not always be good grades in school, but a different way of looking at the world and learning."